On blast.
And we are live. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps postgame. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, but tonight I'm joined by my guy Mikey. Bellomo, what is up, my dude?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me on. Excited.
This episode of the Wrap It Up podcast is brought to you by Clean Cuts Barbershop, 2013 Danforth Avenue in the East End of Toronto. Clean Cuts, the multicultural barbers that will always keep you fresh for any and all occasions. Go see Skip and the crew at Clean Cuts. And as a wise man once said, tell them that I sent you. Check them out on Instagram at Clean Cuts Toronto or give them a call 416-917-4833 to book your appointment now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. How's everyone doing?
What's up, everybody?
Now, we know that the Raptors are playing the Knicks, right? We know that the Raptors barely beat the Knicks 104-99. This was a super ugly game.
So ugly.
Right?
God.
What did you say the spread was in this game?
It started at 11, and then it went to 13 and a half. way unfair.
What an ugly game. But let's be serious. This game was really about Marc Gasol.
Yep.
Right? Diehard Raptor fans just wanted to see how Marc Gasol was going to look in the Raptors lineup, how they were going to use him. Was he going to start? Was he going to come off the bench? Like, so much anticipation. I found even today, just whether it was Twitter, whether it was Instagram, there's a buzz. Yeah. When you walked in, what'd you say to me?
I felt like the season is kind of refreshed and started over again. I felt like it was, the first game of the season, trying to see what Kawhi would look like in a Raptor uniform.
Yeah.
And you're kind of nervous, a little excited to see what Gasol will look like.
Right? And it was interesting because for me, I put it out earlier today because I wanted to hear what people were thinking about how should they be using Marc Gasol in terms of should he be coming off the bench, should he be starting? We found out early on that he was going to come off the bench.
Yep.
Let's start there. Are you okay with the decision to have him come off the bench in his first game?
Yeah, I was. And even for the foreseeable future. Like I was talking to you about this because you're a proponent of him maybe being a starter. See, there's a couple things I've noticed with Gasol in today's game is I think Nurse did a smart move, putting him coming off the bench with the bench crew because it gives him a little bit more leadership so he's not deferring as if he was in the starting. I noticed a couple little things where he was very vocal with Van Fleet. And I mentioned that to you earlier. And it seemed like he's a facilitator. He passes a lot. And with Connolly and his previous team, it seems like he gains relationships with point guards. And it looked like that was a little relationship brewing there. So, Serge has been great this year. You don't know how that would make him feel if you just insert Gasol into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And get him adapted to things. I don't mind it, and I can see it kind of sticking this way too, and it gives a little bit of an oomph for the bench. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because I can see it both ways. And Nick Nurse did have some pretty interesting quotes. I think it was either earlier today or maybe yesterday, but he was kind of talking about the fact that Serge kind of earned it, right? Like the way that Serge has played, the way that Serge has excelled, especially when JV went down, and how Serge dealt with it early on in the year in terms of he's used to being starting his whole life or his whole NBA career, and he took it in stride and just said, you know what, I'll play this platoon with JV, we'll play the matchups, we'll do that, and then he's earned the starting spot to this point. Yeah. I understand all that, and I can even see that argument and the great point you made about how maybe Gasol's passing helps the bench get
opens
shots.
The floor. It opens the floor for the bench to get a bit more easier shots, right?
I like that idea in theory. I really do. But I need him to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that I feel like he can get Kawhi easier baskets. We can use Danny Green so much more in terms of Danny Green just getting open looks from three, where I feel like a lot of the playmaking, we talked about this during the game too. Yeah. A lot of the playmaking always falls in Kyle's lap, right? Where if Kyle's not getting Danny Green that open shot, Danny Green's not getting
that open shot.
Same with Serge, same with Pascal. Yeah. Kyle gets a lot of those opportunities where he's forced to be the distributor, and maybe that eases the load on Kyle, but also maybe it helps Kyle scoring a lot more too, because Gasol can get Kyle some open looks. His passing is incredible.
But what can we compromise a bit? What I think Coach Nurse should do is do what he did in the first half today. Have Serge start the game. Give him, that 7-8 minutes. Have Gasol come off with the bench. Get that flowing a bit. And then I don't mind inserting your idea of having Gasol play with the starters down the stretch, and primarily in the second half. But I like him in the first half, maybe coming off as the bench. It gives Serge a little bit of that egotistical boost. You know what I mean? Opens up the floor for the bench. And then, you put one of those what did the commentator said? Put him in the Mortal Kombat.
The Raptors finish him lineup.
Finish him lineup, and that can include Gasol, right?
I'm just down with him. I think he's gonna end up starting. I think it was kind of just let him ease into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And you brought it up during the game, the fact that when he was in with the starters, when in with the bench, he had to kind of lead and be a facilitator with all those young bucks.
Makes him feel a bit more comfortable, yeah.
It would have been easy for him to kind of sit back and maybe, let Kawhi go, defer, let Kyle go.
What Kyle's been kind of doing for majority of the season.
So maybe that's the reason why you have him come with the bench. But I think overall, down the line, I think having him start is going to be so valuable and so important because he's so good. We saw moments in this game where he was making these crazy, crazy passes where there's one where he had the ball, he's getting double teamed.
He just
and he did like this, but he palmed it, but did like some underhanded flip cross court to a wide open Kyle.
Guys, that's something JV never does.
Yeah.
Never does.
You would never, ever see JV even consider doing something like that in his life.
JV will pump fake 3 times.
In fairness, I don't think Jay-Z could do that either. In fairness.
You never know, right? Beyonce give him a good night.
Oh, man. Hold on. I think this is going to fall here.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure that's there. But you know what? It's just one of those things where if you watch this game, you saw the passes he was making early, and especially with the bench, they were missing a lot of shots. He was diming those guys.
What did he finish with? 1 assist?
I think he finished with 1 or 2 assists. Let me bring up the box
And if
score.
you were watching the game, and guys on the live, on
1
the feed,
assist.
if you weren't watching the game, he easily could have had 6 or 7 assists. I mean,
definitely.
Norm Powell was second in shots, I think,
Yeah,
and that's
Norman
because
Powell,
Gasol was just finding them.
Yeah, Norman Powell took 14 shots in this game, which was second only to Kawhi. And the thing is that run that Gasol had with the bench, they mentioned Jokic. And if you're really serious about it, you have Jokic and Marc Gasol. Other than that, how many other teams have a big guy that can throw passes like that? No look passes, just crazy passes out of double teams. It might take a while for the other Raptors players to get used to the fact that that Gasol is able to do that, right? It might take them a while to realize that that's a thing. And you saw Norm get one pass right underneath the basket, and he just lost it as he went up for the layup. And it's just like, yes, that's a bad play, but also, again, that's something JV was never going to do. That's something Monroe was never going to do.
Get used to it, and the rest of the Raptors got to get used to.
It's going to take them a while.
Be a bit more aware and have passes. And then a point I wanted to argue too is, so Jokic, obviously he's a great assist man for a big man. Gasol second, but I'd argue that if you have Gasol at the start of the season with the Raptors, with better scorers surrounded with him instead of Memphis, he'd be up there on par with Jokic. And I'm not saying Jokic is fantastic, but he'd have an uptick in the assist, definitely. Yeah. If he started with the Raptors the whole season.
It's super interesting.
Guys,
because
he's nice.
it's interesting because watching him play, it's a little, and I hate saying this, basketball nerd things, but I'm saying
it's the little things.
I mean, it's things that if you understand the game of basketball and you're picking up on the little things that he was doing, the helping on defense, he was talking so much on defense.
He started off with a steal.
We talked about it on the last pod, right? With Webby on the Ball on Blast pod. We were talking about the trade, and it was just, yes, he was Defensive Player of the Year in 2013. But it's not because he was like blocking shots or super athletic like DeAndre. It's positional. It's being a smart defender.
Can I take this perfect time to make a little bit of my argument? Because I saw you and Webby with that, and you were saying to the cup, there was a couple comments, there's a couple Raptors fans that were a little confused by this trade. A lot of their points was, granted, he just turned 34. Guys, Marc Gasol has never been an athletic athlete. That's not his game.
Yeah.
He listen. His basketball IQ is through the roof. He's smart. He's not losing that. He's great without the ball. He brings the centers out because he could shoot. He's going to have basically the same IQ that he has. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his athletic ability is probably the same. He was hurt a bit in Memphis. That's fine.
Yeah.
But now with the feel, all that, I think he'll have even better of a fitness training program here.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you saw it, right? You saw him talking on defense. The communication is always key. The positional defense is big. He took a charge in this game, which how often do you see centers taking charges in the NBA?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it was amazing to me how many people were trying to compare JV and Marc Gasol as if this was a conversation.
No.
Like Marc Gasol's making plays that you've never seen JV do.
JV's
and
got
this
a little
is
bit more energy, but
JV's younger. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
JV is a good player, and it's not to knock JV. Just like I never meant to knock DeRozan. It's just that there's levels to this shit.
Yeah.
And Kawhi is a level better than DeMar, and Marc Gasol is a level better than JV.
Yeah.
Your goal as Masai Ujiri is to improve your team and make your top end talent better, because top end talent is what gets you to the NBA Finals. Marc Gasol, it's just the little things and the great passing. When he gets into the starting lineup, the effect that he will have on everybody else getting easier baskets, whether it's Kawhi Leonard, who still to this point, we're 50 games into the year, and most of Kawhi's points are still coming off like ISO plays or like, he has to work hard for his buckets.
Yeah.
Where's someone else getting him a layup here and there, right? I don't know. I just see it working so well with him in the starting lineup. And further to your point, the compromise, I think, will come in not playing the bench as a full bench mob unit and just staggering the minutes.
Starters,
right? Just staggering your starters' minutes. So if Marc Gasol starts, that's cool. But when Serge comes into the game, if Serge is still on the floor with Pascal and Kyle, that's gravy.
Yeah.
Right? If Serge still gets a lot of his bench minutes with Pascal and Kyle, cool. You can find a way to make this work to where you're only playing maybe 8 guys, but you're keeping 2 of your starters on the floor at all times. And I think that could work if you have Marc Gasol, Kawhi, Danny Green, and then Fred with Norm. Right? You can have that lineup out there.
They kind of did that in the second quarter today, too. They brought in Kyle and Kawhi. I mean, McCaw stayed in there because he was shooting the free throw. But Nurse tried to see that. Also, one other point that I wanted to get to with the JV Gasol comparisons, and I know I saw a lot of people are also saying he's going to accept his player option next year. That's fine. Guys, I know he's going to make $25 million. But when you think about it, though, Masai also got rid of CJ, who I guarantee you was going to take that player option, which was $8.7 million. So technically, you knock that off the books.
Yeah.
You're getting Gasol next year, a good veteran, at about $17 million. Right?
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, there's positives to this too, right? It's not.
It's just
a great trade.
It's a very good trade, and it's good
it's
that.
Sad to see JV go, but we've already know we've had playoffs with them.
Yeah,
and we know what he is.
That's the thing. It's not a knock on JV to say that, everyone's happy that Marc Gasol's here. It's not a knock at all. JV was a great soldier for the Raptors. He was a great guy in the locker room. He's well liked. He's one of the fan favorites, longest serving Raptor. Went through a lot with this team when they were bad to when they started to get good, to where he never got touches, right? Where he probably deserved more touches, never complained, never made a peep about anything.
There was also the narrative of him, though, where he doesn't fit in this NBA anymore. Just a season or two ago, right?
It's tough, right? But even with that said, he adjusted and he still found a way to contribute a lot to this team.
He wouldn't have been the center of the trade piece to this Gasol deal if he didn't play as well as he did this year.
Exactly.
So
you needed him to play at this level for them to want him in this deal. It's just a good look. And I think Serge, especially down the stretch, taking off some of the wear and tear from Serge Ibaka, who's been putting in mega work for the Raptors this season, it could only help. Also, starting Marc Gasol, your starting lineup, they had the board up. But it's not even just starting lineup, but just people don't pay attention to the fact that you have Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green.
I mean, you could put Serge at the 4 if you
really
want.
And Marc Gasol. You're talking about
all
3 dudes who won defensive player of the year, but also 4 guys who have been first team defensive, all defensive first team. Like the lineups that you can play with this Raptors team is just crazy. And further to your point, you can have your lineups where, hey, it's just Gasol and Danny Green with the bench on the floor, and you'll be totally fine, right? You're not worried about the droughts that you might have had before with JV. But tons of comments here, as I'm sure we weren't the only ones excited to see how Marc Gasol looked. Let's see. Someone says, "Let's go. We Gucci. We got Macklemore. It's a wrap."
Benny Mac.
Solid ad, but also I'll throw this question out there and get your comments later on. But who else would we like to see the Raptors add, as they still need to get a couple more players
I think
in the buyout market?
3 more slots left now,
something like that. But we'll discuss that.
Yeah,
we'll discuss that. Remind me. We'll get to that before the end of the pod for sure. Another comment: ugly win, but I'll take it. More comments from Instagram. The entire team owes Gasol dinner for not giving him those assists.
How about for not adding the trade ticker in too?
Also true. Great point. They mentioned it during the broadcast, and this is showing the mentality of a star player coming into a winning situation, right? He had a trade kicker, which means if he gets traded, the team owes him an extra, I think it was $1 million something.
Which is a player option if he wants to do it.
Yeah, right? So
he declined it.
The reason why dudes add that in is because they don't want to get traded. And so the other team has to really, really want him to say, we're going to trade this guy and pay him an extra whatever amount.
His was 1.4, I think.
Marc Gasol waived that.
Which gives the Raptors more flexibility on the buyout market.
It was also a thing where the Raps are in the luxury tax, and as the luxury tax works, you get penalized for every dollar amount that you're above the tax. So they're already there. So it saves them money there, but also, we mentioned, they're in the buyout market now, right? You could need that extra mil or something, right? You could need the extra money to sign. It could be the difference between you getting the player you really want and having that player go to another team that you might have to face later on. So it's super big to have for the Raptors a guy like just make sure this is plugged in there. Cool. Just to make sure the Raptors have a guy like Marc Gasol who is into, who really wants to be on the team and showing you that he wants to be on the team.
Definitely.
Like taking the phrase of put your money where your mouth is, right? Like he wants to be there. He wants to be on a team.
Too, the assistant coach of the Raptors.
Yeah.
Coach of Team Spain. Yeah. Coach. Yeah. He's very familiar with them. Exactly. I mean, I think he's going to love it here. Sure. Jose Calderon was the first to reach out to him. Told him he's going to love the team, the city. I think he will too. I mean, I think it's a great fit, and I think he will, and I hope he signs again next year, man. Because I mean, where did it? I know we're gonna get the comments, but we talked about this earlier, and I get it. But man, did it quickly change where the age of a sports athlete really just went? It's because 34 or a fresh 34, he just turned 34, 6-7 years ago. Was almost still prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's because you know what happened. Two things happened, right? The league got younger, right? So you have kids coming in
every sport,
even in hockey. Yeah, same thing where guys come in at a way younger age. So now LeBron's 34 is different because he's been in the league since he was 18, right? Whereas MJ, you guys are like they were coming into the league at 20, 21.
Yeah.
So it's a little different in that sense. But at the same time, as you mentioned, Marc Gasol's 34 is different than what Russell Westbrook's 34 is going to be.
Yeah, he doesn't kill himself.
Style. Yeah, it's a different style, different way to
affect
the game.
High IQ player.
It's how Dirk Nowitzki's still in the league right now. Because he's always going to be able to knock down a three. He can run from three-point line to three-point line.
With that jog and that hair.
And that's it, right? Let's get to more comments here. Because lots of people have tuned in. As, again, Raptors fan base is hype. Someone on Instagram says Gasol needs to start. More comments. Off the bench makes sense. Make him earn his stripes, but also doesn't affect the chemistry and play that Ibaka has exemplified. It's an interesting point.
Earn the stripes.
I don't know about earn the stripes.
Yeah, but I mean Ibaka's
the chemistry side of it makes
good.
Sense.
Yeah, exactly.
The chemistry with
Shout out. 1 sec. Shout out to Bulldog too. My boy Bulldog. Okay. I had to do it. I thought I was going to forget about it, but
no
I know
problem.
It's a weird time. Shout out Bulldog. What up? He's a big fan of the show. We're going through the comments.
Okay.
So I thought I'd shout him out there.
Yeah, but the chemistry of Serge Ibaka it's an interesting point, right? We talked about how well Kyle Lowry has done with Serge, and it's also a thing where there's an article recently, I want to say it was Eric Kareen wrote it, talking about how Kyle Lowry hit up Russell Westbrook to find out how he can get Serge going.
Really?
Yeah, and Russ, and if you pay attention and see the pick and pop that if you watch, again, I know I talk about watching basketball a lot, and I urge Raptors fans to watch all of the NBA and not just so much of the Raptors
Kyle's
because
a big reason for surges. Yeah,
but you learn a lot more about the overall game, right?
Yep.
And if you watch
like
the simple pick and pop that Russell Westbrook runs with Steven Adams all the time, easy. It's the same pick and pop that he used to run with Serge Ibaka. Kyle Lowry hit up Russ. They were just talking, shooting the shit.
And now he's using that.
And now you see it. The pick and pop, and Serge just knocks down that elbow jumper like it's food.
Oh, yeah.
And you see that now. So I understand what this guy's saying here about the chemistry Ibaka has shown. But again, even though Ibaka moves to the bench, you can still have that same chemistry by just adjusting and staggering the minutes of Kyle Lowry, playing a lot more with the bench. The bench, quote unquote. Because I think this bench mob stuff of a full bench unit,
I mean, a lot of the bench guys now, pretty much they could start on some teams, right? So, I mean, it's a great bench.
After you get past Fred, Norm, and whichever big and OG, I mean, and OG's not even playing well right now.
Yeah, I know.
But
you said he could go back to the wing with CJ and DeLon out to give him maybe a little bit more.
Because a lot of his minutes ended up coming, and he had to play with the four because they were playing DeLon, Norm, and Fred were the ball handlers on the perimeter, meaning OG's kind of either standing in the corner, playing the four, or in the paint somewhere. Whereas now he can be more involved in
it was a move
the perimeter
that
ball
just
handling.
affected the whole team. And you know what? We haven't even really talked about it. This really affects Kyle because now we have another facilitator in Gasol, and you've seen it. Kyle played well. Scoring, hitting big shots. You can see that he's like, okay, I don't have to be the guy that drives all of this and sets up the big mans because I got another guy that can do that, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that's a thing that we see Rap fans going forward because like we've all said, we all know it. We need Kyle to really step up as our legit second scorer.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe
we'll see it now.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry had a great game
22
tonight.
Points.
Great game for Kyle Lowry. Leading scorer for the Raptors. Hit 5 threes.
Took a lot of good
5
charges,
for
like
7
usual.
from Kyle. 6 of 10 overall from the floor. Great shooting game from Kyle. Again, giving you 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks from Kyle.
Yep.
A little bit of everything from Kyle Lowry. And you know what?
Feels like a lot's off his shoulders.
But a trade like that.
And he's not traded.
He's not traded.
He doesn't want to go to Memphis or Utah, man.
He's not traded, and you bring in a big piece, that gives a little extra juice to other guys in the locker room. Like, okay, here we are, right? Like, we are making a run.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry balled out tonight, and it'll be interesting to see going forward how this works. And he's another interesting, like, side story, I guess, to this Marc Gasol thing because they played together in Memphis, right? Yeah. It's just there's so many different links to Marc Gasol and this team, right? Him and Serge Ibaka both played on the Spanish national team. You mentioned their assistant coach being the Spanish national team coach being an assistant with the Raptors. Jose Calderon being one of the most popular Raptors. But Calderon's one of the most popular Raptors of all time, right? Yeah. So, like, he's like having him to co-sign the city and the organization for you. It's just, I don't know. It just makes too much sense already. And we're getting to see this early. People are fired up. Let's see. More comments. Marc created so many opportunities. We've seen it today.
It was nice.
Very true.
He did.
The bench had a lot of open shots at the basket and from 3. Someone says 100 to all of your points. I guess we'll take that. Cool.
If the Raps were shooting better, like if they had a good shooting game, Gasol could have got 8, 9, 10 assists. Easily. Like 6, 7 for sure.
For sure.
And that's just him getting acclimated into the system. Give it 10 games, 15 games.
Like, imagine that, right? You get traded, and then, boom, they had a shoot-around or a walkthrough, but you're in the game now. And here's the other part about Marc Gasol, right? You can plug him in, and he might not be aware of, all of your systems and all of your sets, but...
Again, he's a high IQ guy.
Yeah, so, like, simple, basic back cutting, screens.
Me and you
like,
said...
all that stuff.
When you saw the ball go into him just in the corner of the paint, and... He stood there and he had the ball, and then he stood still for a moment, and everybody else was just running and cutting, and he was just waiting for the right opportune moment to give either a little back pass or a pass to someone open, and that's how it should be running when he's on the floor. Right? He opens things up, and he doesn't have to cut and do all this. I mean, he's going to open up Siakam's game even more too, right? It's just everything that he can do. it just works for what the Raptors really didn't have.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just another
They're
element.
one-dimensional, and now
it's another element. It's another weapon that'll open things up.
Definitely.
And you have, Webby was saying it the other day, a grown-up, right?
An adult.
Yes, that you're adding
Webby,
to your team that knows what to do.
It's true.
He's not going to get shook in big moments because here's the reality of the playoffs. If you're talking about making a deep run, you are going to be in some serious situations in Boston in the playoffs or in Milwaukee in the playoffs.
Been through it.
Those are hostile crowds. And you need more guys that aren't going to be shook.
Yep.
I'm not saying that's JV.
No, he's been through it. Playoffs,
all I'm saying is we know Marc Gasol isn't going to be shook.
No.
Kawhi isn't going to be shook.
Yep.
Danny Green isn't going to be shook. And if there's one thing you can say about the Raptors in years past, when the chips were down and it was big boy time in the playoffs against the Cavs, they looked shook.
How many shots did he miss?
Right?
I love JV, but right?
This is a reality. The Raptors looked shook as a team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now you're changing the culture of your team by bringing in 3 dudes who have been through playoff battles before, that the moment is not going to get too big for them when it comes to the playoffs.
They thrive in it.
A game in Boston in the playoffs, that crowd is going to be serious. Hey, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. More comments here. Len on Instagram says, Gasol should start. He would open up more for Kawhi and Kyle. I wish Gasol got to see more run with the starters. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that should have been a thing that we should have seen more. But also, hey,
Nurse
it's the Knicks. Got to ease them in.
Ease them in a bit.
Yeah. Like, Gasol is going to be fine. And also, so they play Brooklyn on Monday and then the Wizards on Wednesday. All-Star break. So you almost got to look at this kind of like practice for them.
Yeah.
Right? Brooklyn's going to be a legit game. We know Brooklyn.
And they played like it was practice.
They did.
Right?
The Raps played terrible in this game.
Yeah, this
it's almost
the
better.
Worst. This is the worst game I've seen Kawhi. We'll get to it, but Kawhi, he did look like he was nursing something. He wasn't really giving it his 100%. There's a couple balls he could have maybe got within a couple feet. He wasn't giving it that extra push. I know he was out against Atlanta with what was called a sore knee.
Yeah. I mean,
he could have just been an off night, but I don't know. I hope something.
Yeah, definitely hope Kawhi's okay.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the same burst. You could see him kind of, obviously had a poor shooting night by Kawhi Leonard's standards. 4 of 15 for Kawhi, 1 of 5 from 3.
Siakam too.
11 points. Siakam, as you mentioned, 3 of 13 for 10 points. And it's funny, right? Because Kawhi Leonard, there was a couple plays, one in particular where he got the ball at 3-point line, and it was legitimately like 1 Mississippi,
3 seconds,
2 Mississippi,
where you
3
just
Mississippi.
Knew so much time he was going to
miss
it.
He shot it.
There was no flow
missed.
to it.
But to me, the beauty of Kawhi Leonard, and again, not to knock DeMar DeRozan,
that he'll get it back next game.
But to emphasize that there's levels to this, right?
Yeah.
If DeMar DeRozan wasn't shooting well, he was a non-factor in the game.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything else without the ball. Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard still had 6 assists in this game, 5 rebounds in this game, right?
Yep.
He still found other ways to contribute while still playing Kawhi Leonard defense that we've come to know. More comments here. To me, Gasol needs to be your starting 5, game in, game out. That's just what it is. And you adjust accordingly throughout the game. But I feel like he's good enough in all aspects of the game that there's not going to be a bad matchup for him at the 5. Whereas JV, we know that JV sometimes will just get abused on those pick and rolls, right? Where he's not able to handle it. Whereas Gasol positionally, you could see it already today, right?
Yeah.
Like
he knows
he's
where to
talking,
be.
He's communicating, which might be the biggest factor, right? Him talking and commanding, hey, step over the screen, fight over the screen. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting.
It's another floor general.
Exactly.
That can hit the 3 and pass the ball well.
Imagine him working
not take that.
Working the big man game, him and Pascal in lineups, right?
I think it's going to open. The way Pascal cuts and dishes, he's going to have a lot of open space.
Someone said
not only Kyle's going to find him, but Gasol too.
Someone says Marc and Norm looked really good too. Yeah, Norman Powell again. Norman Powell has just been playing really well. He's had a really good season this year, and that continued. Norm is just aggressive. He's taking shots within rhythm. He is playing free and nice, and he is really taken over for Fred in my books, in my viewpoint, as being that leader of the second unit. He started. It's been long enough now where it's a trend. right? Like
Yeah.
you come to expect Norm to give you good minutes off the bench, and he continues to do that.
At the wing position where we desperately need that, right?
Here's a comment. Gasol is the OG Jokic. I like that. Yeah, all the way to, I guess I'll get to the question I brought up earlier on. In the buyout market, who are some of the guys that you would like to see the Raptors go after? There's a list of guys, whether it's just a Jeremy Lin's, a Marc Morris.
I think Jeremy Lin would be great.
They
Morris
added
would
Ben
be great.
McLemore, but who do you think the Raptors should go after? Is there someone that stands out more than the other if you could pick one guy? And why? I'll ask the
Probably
same thing
Morris.
to you too.
He's like a junkyard dog kind of guy that's just gonna do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we'd love to get a shooter, and that could have been Wayne Ellington.
Yeah.
Or Wesley Matthews. I mean, those kind of guys are gone. Jeremy Lin would be great because you lost along a little bit of depth, and with Kyle's wonky back, who knows? And Jeremy Lin would definitely be a fan favorite, but so would Morris.
Yeah.
I think. I'm a little scared that the Lakers are going to grab all of these guys because they didn't make drastic moves at the deadline. But I think, I mean, Cantor, or we saw DeAndre Jordan, someone like that. But I don't know if those guys are going to come and take 10, 12 minutes, right? So I would love a Morris or, like a Jeremy Lin for some depth point guard.
Yeah, for me, I want Markieff Morris.
So do I. I wanted him before even this buyout, and I think you've always said one of the brothers. Boston has him. It'd be if we meet Boston in the playoffs, they have the other brother. You put him on him, right? I mean, I just think
it's one of those things where we were just talking about having grown-ups on your team, but having people that aren't afraid of the moment. And again, OG is still young.
Yeah.
Norm, we've seen Norm perform already in the playoffs, so we're not really worried about Norm. Last year was really Fred's first go at the playoffs in terms of being a key contributor, really, and he was injured. So you don't really know how or what you can consistently expect from Fred yet in the playoffs. Yep. Adding a Morris twin also is Bill Simmons always used to say that you need one irrational confidence guy on your team, one guy that thinks he's a little bit better than he is.
If I'm
right,
Masai, I go all in after him, and I use the face your brother in the Eastern Conference Finals type of, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you want to fit? Because we're gonna pay Boston. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you want to get who's the better? Like, just get them a little amped up or do whatever you have to do because that's definitely. I mean, I texted you. I texted Beals. I said we need to get Kenneth Faried when I heard that he might not. He's not getting as much minutes, and he's playing well on Houston. Yeah, and he's that kind of gets the dirty work done type of player, and that's what Morris is. You need a kind of a
mean dude, you know, like, and you need a guy that's no back down, and especially when you're talking about a team like the Raptors, who in years past have had to deal with the notion that they're soft, right? Going back to Paul Pierce saying they don't have it. Well, if they had someone that's a bit of a on the team, we saw what a guy like PJ Tucker did for the Raptors team, right? Love PJ Tucker. Thought he was a great addition to the Raptors, but it's just adding a little more of that. And again, Masai's done a good job in changing the face of this team, even though it is just for this 1 year. But the point of going from a team that, fizzled out in the playoffs and having a lot of people acknowledge the fact that it's probably more mental than it is physical in the playoffs.
And LeBron, but
yeah, but still, but that's what I mean. Mentally, they didn't think they could beat LeBron. Actually, funny you bring this up because I saw there was a Danny Green's podcast. He had what's the guy's name? The Raptors assistant coach Phil Handy was on. Phil Handy was an assistant.
Master.
Yes, he was an assistant coach with the Cavs.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talked about was what was the perception of the Raptors from the Cavs viewpoints. Yeah, because, the perception was that they didn't think they could win. And he was very careful in his words, which told me a lot. Because it's his team
now, which is Toronto. Yeah, and he doesn't want, do anything.
But you could tell that they kind of had this viewpoint that
we got them. Yeah. Even if we go down 0-2.
Yeah, like they didn't ever really think that the Raptors were a problem for them, right? Yep. And it was something that we talked from the outside just watching it, right?
You bring that stuff into existence. Yeah. When the whole city of Toronto knows, oh, God, we're playing. And you know what I'm nervous about? Because I believe in us. We're doing that with Boston. oh, we don't want to play Boston. You know,
which is whack.
yeah,
because
like
it's like
you can't be thinking that. Right?
You can beat Boston. You
Yes,
can beat any team. You
yes.
can't even worry about that, right?
Yes,
Like
you put that narrative around that whole series. I mean, you get off to a sloppy start or something like that, and it gets in people's heads.
Also, too, it's just a matter of you look at the Boston games this year, and I'll ask you what you think with the moves that just
Who's
happened.
the contenders in the East?
Well, the moves that just happened in the East, I'll get you to rank those teams 1 to 4.
Yeah.
But I'll say this much: the games that the Raptors played against Boston, right? I feel as if they could have went either way. There's 2 overtime games, so. It's like it's such a crapshoot to then have people now come out and be like, "Oh, well, we don't want to play Boston in the playoffs." And it's like, get out of here. The Raptors can play anybody in the playoffs and win.
Yeah.
And especially with Marc Gasol now, I'm interested to see how that plays out. But as I said, what do you make of the moves that went down in terms of how would you rank the teams in the Eastern Conference? I'm talking Milwaukee, Raptors, Boston, and the Sixers.
Wow.
Who do you think is? You want me to give give mine?
No, I'll do mine. I think not being biased.
Nope.
I placed from what I see, I placed the Raptors at the top because of the defensive in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've got the best defensive team.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about Milwaukee. Like Mirotic, they haven't been there consistently yet. Is this their breakthrough year?
Yeah.
Very well could be. You know?
But they haven't been there yet.
They haven't been there yet, right? So I got to put Boston over them just because what we talked about, just being there and kind of, right? So, I mean, it's going to be maybe not the people might disagree with me. And if you do, let me know, your guys, what you think. But I would go Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. Why am I doing Philly? Sorry, Webby. But why am I doing Philly last? It's just because they haven't been together, and that's a lot of star power that hasn't been together for a long time. I don't know how Butler is in the room, who's going to create their own shot. Like, you know what I mean? And then they have no depth. This could all change with the buyout market. But if I have to go right now, I would say Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. And Milwaukee, it could go either way.
Yeah,
it could be Milwaukee too.
Of course.
But I'm just going on a base of what I've seen in the last couple years where, right, Milwaukee hasn't shown anything yet. That can all change. So if you're asking me, that would be my 4. What's yours?
I agree with you in the sense that I think that the Raptors have the best team because I feel like the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
I think Marc Gasol will thrive in the offense because the offense is built to have a center like Marc Gasol that you can run the offense through and can do that. And just defensively, I feel like they have the most they have playoff experience. They have defensive players. Defense wins in the playoffs. And I still think Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the Eastern Conference. Right?
Best two-way, definitely.
Yeah.
He's got a shot.
I put the Raptors up top. I think second, I think when it comes down to it, I'm putting Boston as the second best team. And it's just because I feel like the run that the Young Bucks had, minus Hayward and Kyrie last year,
and Brown,
is going to help those guys come playoff time, right? We've seen them go through it.
Whereas 48 minutes of good play.
Whereas we don't know what is going to come from the Sixers yet.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler hasn't really fit in that well. It's still kind of a crapshoot. And now you're going to add another very good player in. And I don't know if those pieces fit enough. Fits. Boston is a deep enough team that they were able to say, hey, we're going to take Marcus Smart. We're going to take Marcus Morris. Put them in the starting lineup to balance out our lineup a little more so that not everybody in our starting lineup needs the ball. The Sixers aren't that deep. They improve their depth a bit, but they're still not there yet. And I don't know if you have enough time to sort all that out in the playoffs. And Milwaukee, I just don't think they're ready yet. Right? It's still going to be Giannis focused, but it's going to come down to can the other scorers give them enough to win in the playoffs?
Giannis can't shoot 3 great yet, and you're just going to double him. Exactly.
So that's how I rank it. But
do you have Philly over Milwaukee? Is that what you have? No. Did you have me? Toronto, Boston, Milwaukee, Philly. Yeah. Same with me. Yeah.
So I look forward to that. I just think it'll be completely crazy. Here I'm just gonna go through more comments because you guys, thanks for supporting the pod live. Again, questions we take on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, Twitter at Shell Alexander, and I appreciate all the comments because that's what makes the show as well the next day for all the people that listen on the podcast, right? Shout out to my guy, Brendan Dunlop, who tells me he's always listening on his way home from work, listening to the podcast. So shout out to the podcast crew, whether you're on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Google Play. Really appreciate you guys listening. And of course, the YouTube people. But back to the comments here, as there are a ton. Totally appreciate it. One guy brings up, I'm laughing.
Back.
No. I'm laughing because it made me laugh in the moment while you were talking about something serious, and I had to like stop myself from laughing.
Is he like, why are you laughing at me? What, you don't take like my take?
But it was because this guy says, no more CJ, no more PJs. Right? And then question though, did they play, like, are the CJ's PJ's commercials gotta be gone now, right?
Yeah,
like, did the GoDaddy commercial air tonight? I didn't notice it.
I mean,
so they must be gone, I'd assume.
Yep.
Or do they take them to Memphis and they change this PJs? Do they make them new PJs?
I'm sure
Memphis colors?
that commercial, will probably be off the air.
Yeah, probably. Someone says, do you think Gasol and Ibaka going to get runs together? I totally do. I think that's a lineup that we'll definitely see some of. And again, depending on matchups, you definitely could see that. There are teams where they'll play two big guys together. And even if you think about Boston, you could definitely play Serge and Gasol against Horford and Marcus Morris.
Yeah.
Right? You could definitely do that. So I definitely think there will be times, and it'll be interesting because it'll get Serge a lot more easy buckets as well. I think that could happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he flourished playing the five. That's what Coach Nurse did, right? His move to make him feel more comfortable in that. But I mean, he played the four majority of last season, so I know he
also too
was comfortable with that.
And also too, playing the five alongside Marc Gasol is going to be different than playing alongside JV. Marc Gasol can be a stretch five and be on the perimeter, right? Whether it's ball handling or passing or shooting, whereas JV isn't going to be as successful doing that, right?
We're at fault for no one really watched a lot of Memphis games, so we really don't know too much of how Gasol plays, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to.
The real fans know.
No, I know, but I mean, every day, like a lot of fans are going to see and come to like. How much Gasol does even without the ball.
Yeah,
you're going to appreciate it, right?
Like when I say stuff like he sets great screens, that sounds like something that's basketball nerdy, but when you watch it happen,
that play won't establish if Gasol didn't set that, right?
Yeah. The pick and pop is going to be so crazy because Kyle is wide open on that screen that's set by Gasol, right? Someone says, because we were talking about the levels, right? How there's levels to it.
Shit.
Someone says 2 levels in DeMar. At some point they will in the playoffs.
Is that the DeMar stank in the dressing room, guys? Is that him?
I don't know. Someone says OG looks awkward at times. He doesn't seem to have a go-to move. Nope. Again, I just feel he runs into the problem where he hasn't, because of the way that the Raptors bench was rolling, right? And you would see the dribble handoff that would be run at the top of the key, and it would be DeLon and Norm running the dribble handoff to each other. OG's just standing in the corner. So a lot of times when those guys are getting shots off that action, OG would then just get the ball and then feel like he has to shoot because he hasn't gotten the ball in a while. And then now you're forcing it instead of playing within the context of the game.
Yeah, and going to the net.
Hopefully that can change and open up. But he's not having a good season. It didn't this game, but we'll see. And again,
he's 21.
We got time.
Masai has all the confidence in him.
And the way that the team has been built, you don't need OG as much this year. Right? You don't need him as much this year as you're going to need him in years to come. So
he should just sit back and learn from the tutelage of Gasol and Kawhi. Right?
On the job learning.
I'm serious. And,
for sure.
And next year or the year after, if everything doesn't plan out like we Raptor fans want, then you give the keys to him and Siakam, and hopefully then that's when he flourishes like you hope he does, right?
For sure.
He's got a lot of time, so a lot of patience with him.
Totally. And again, an ugly win, but a win nonetheless for the Raptors as they win 104-99. I know we didn't talk much about the game, but we know that it was an ugly game, an ugly, sloppy win for the Raptors.
They played down the competition.
It was more about, hey, you got the win and you got to see Marc Gasol in a Raptors uniform, right?
Yep.
Raptors win 104-99, improved to 41-16 on the year.
41-16.
19-11 on the road. Great start for the Toronto Raptors. Marc Gasol played in this game 19 minutes, was 3 of 7 from the floor, 7 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. That could have really been like 7 or 8 assists.
Let's just give him 6, okay?
2 steals in this game as well, a block. I mentioned he took a charge. Get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And if you notice a theme, if you've been listening to this podcast from the beginning, what have I been saying about this team and the beauty of this Raptors team? They have multiple players who can affect the game in different ways.
Yeah.
You just added another one in Marc Gasol, a high-end one in Marc Gasol.
Something that we didn't have anything like him.
Exactly.
You know, it's not like we already had like a Marc Gasol, which a lot of people are saying. I mean, it's kind of a lateral trade. No, it's not at all. We don't have anything like Marc Gasol.
Exactly. Like, did we really miss DeLon Wright in this game? Did you really miss CJ Miles in this game? Right? So, anyways, Raptors, Masai still got moves to make. Things are going to happen, but I'm going to stress this for Toronto fans, and this kind of seeps into Leaf fans as well, but it's very much applicable to the Raptors for sure.
Negative thoughts?
They got Marc Gasol. They got Kawhi Leonard. Enjoy this run of what this season is going to be. Stop worrying so much as a fan what's going to happen next year or the year after or what the salary cap is. You know what? There are people that paid millions and millions of dollars to figure that stuff out, to think long term and have a game plan for that. As a fan, sit back and enjoy the fact that you can watch Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Marner every night, Kawhi Leonard, and Marc Gasol every night. Like, sit back.
And no LeBron in your Eastern Conference that you got to worry about.
Right?
Like a legitimate chance to go to the finals, to play Golden State.
Yes.
Right? Like, come on.
Sit back, enjoy the run.
Yeah.
Don't nitpick on what's going to happen next year, whatever. Where's Kawhi going to go? All these things don't matter right now. Yeah. The point is, this Toronto Raptors franchise is in a place that they've never been before, where you have realistic aspirations of being in the NBA Finals. Sit back and enjoy it, and we will be here as well to enjoy it with you on the Wrap It Up podcast and the Ball on Blast podcast. Again, Wrap It Up you can find after each and every Raptor game on Twitter at Shell Alexander, or then as a podcast where on the same feed you can also find the Ball on Blast podcast, which each and every week we break down the inner workings of the NBA, league-wide conversation. Last time we talked about KD versus the media again, what happened to LeBron in his pursuit of Anthony Davis, all that stuff. You can find that there, Ball on Blast, each and every week. Of course, my guy Mikey's here for Wrap It Up. Mikey, let me know where the people can find you, if they want to comment and follow you on the social media.
Follow me up on Twitter, Mike_Bellomo, BELLOMO. Hit me up on Instagram, MikeBello_6. And the YouTube comments.
Yes.
Got a lot of YouTube commenters that are great.
Yeah.
Good little interactions, people's opinions, whether they agree or disagree. I love reading through them. You do. We talk about it.
For sure.
Great little community. Great, man.
For sure, guys. Continue to like and subscribe and share the love. Share the podcast as we continue to grow this platform and turn it into something that doesn't really exist, just in terms of having the Raptors fans a place to go and talk and interact and have your voice heard within this conversation. Because again, this year as a fan, it doesn't get much better than this. This is going to be a great, great run. And we hope to be right there with you again. My name is Sheldon Alexander, and thank you for listening to the Wrap Up Podcast. Because I really did used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Rap's post-game show. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Till next time, see ya.
Peace, guys. Have a good night.
On blast.